Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, there's a presentation. Okay, great. I must admit that there are two things I don't like about the term revenue management. The first one is that it gives the impression that revenue managers are some kind of Wall Street traders that only want to maximize revenue above anything else. And this is not true, of course, because revenue management is being used by operators to maximize load factor and increase ridership as well. And the second thing I don't like about this term is that it gives the impression that we are maximizing the entire scope of revenue, whereas this is not true either. Currently, what revenue management does is only optimizing the right to travel, only on single segments, and only with fixed price points. These are three strong limitations. What do they mean? Well, first, optimizing only the right to travel means that we are not optimizing many other kind of revenue streams. Here, for example, you have revenue streams that are generated during the booking process by selling ancillaries, upgrades, additional options. You also have revenue streams that come after the booking process, before the travel. You have the booking change fees also, you have the onboard sales. So you have many different revenue streams that come on top of the simple right to travel that are out of the scope of revenue management currently. Second limitation is that we only optimize single segment in revenue management currently. Meaning that when you do a trip with connection from Bordeaux to Amsterdam, for example, to come to the World Passenger Festival, if you want to come by train, you will have to change in Paris. You are going to take two trains. Each of these trains is going to be most likely quite expensive because each of these trains is addressing a business travel demand. Whereas you, as a price-sensitive customer, if you are going to travel 7 hours and connecting in Paris to do this very long trip, you are not going to pay the addition of those prices, because currently a connecting price is the addition of the two prices, which is most likely to be suboptimal, because it's too expensive for a price-sensitive customer. And the third limitation is that revenue management currently uses fixed price points most of the time, which means that if you want to set your price, because that's the optimal price between two price points, or if you have a competitor that sets his price just below your price, you are not able to go at any price level to match exactly where you want to be. You need to choose between two price points. So these are three important limitations that show that the impact of revenue management is still far from the maximum. Remi has done a lot of progress in the last 30 or 40 years, but there's still, with the current technology, a lot to improve. The goal of this presentation is to give you a few examples, actually 7 examples, of topics that we are currently working on to improve the leverage of revenue management. These are split into 3 categories, these 7 examples. The first category are additional products that can be sold to the customer in different ways. The second category is how you can better target customers using a mixture of RM and CRM technologies to better target customers with those products. And the last category is how you can use all that to operate total revenue management. Let's move to the first category, and here the first item is something you all know very well. It's called ancillary product optimization. I'm going to be very short on that because we have been talking about this all day already. But ancillary product is something you know. It has been around in the airline industry for long. And currently, revenue management systems are able to display the sales of ancillary products. Sometimes they are also able to allow you to control the volume of those products. Sometimes you can control the price of the products. But the challenge, and what is currently not being done well enough, is the optimization of the price or the volume of those products. And this is much more difficult because most of these products, most of these ancillary products, depending on how much you sell and what price you sell them, they have an impact, they have an influence on the capacity of your main cabin. For example, if you sell an upgrade, if you sell the adjacent seat for a customer to have 2 seats just for him, if you sell the right to choose your seat on a seat map, you are going to influence the capacity that you have left over for other customers. So you cannot optimize those ancillaries independently from the rest. You need to do the optimization all together at the same time. which is why it's very important to do it in close integration with the revenue management system. This is true for ancillary products that you can sell during the booking process, but you can also do it after the booking. You can sell these products after the booking process. This is what we call post-booking sales or post-booking optimization. And this is actually quite interesting because after the booking, when you get closer to departure time, you have more information about how your train is going to be. Your forecast is better. And also the customer might have forgotten that he has already paid a very high price for the main ticket. So it's a good time to send an offer to the customers of those additional products. You can do it by email or sending an SMS. If he accepts the offer, you can just update the booking. And here, if we do this with revenue management, we can do very exciting stuff. For example, if there's a customer that paid a cheap price on a very high demand train, so the train is going to be full, and if it turns out that you have a train that is departing 2 hours later that has on the same O&D some capacity left over, you can make an offer to that customer to switch train. Take the other one. You will give them an incentive to do so. You can, for example, give him a 20 or 30 euro voucher. And if he accepts, he will be very happy because he got the voucher, and you as a train operator will be very happy as well because you have an empty seat on the high demand train that you can sell to a much higher price. So everyone is winning. Now, if we get closer to the departure time, we are now on board, talking about onboard sales. This is the third example of what we are working on. It's about optimizing onboard sales. Well, the challenge here is that onboard sales usually are made at a fixed price because the price is written on the menu or it's written on board for the food or for Wi-Fi, for example. So you think, oh, okay, how can I optimize this? Well, actually, it's easy. You just need to add on top of the fixed price a dynamic discount. You can do and calculate this discount exactly with the same logic as when you do revenue management, meaning you will use the customer price sensitivity on one side, you will use your inventory availability information on the other side, and depending on that, you will push customized dynamic offers to the customers for onboard sales, discounts for food, for example. And this is very powerful and has a huge potential because currently onboard sales are not optimized at all. Most operators have a fixed price, so you are starting from zero in terms of potential that you can reach to optimize onboard sales. In the first 3 examples I mentioned, I was talking about contacting the customers directly by mail or SMS. This is a very important topic in itself, and it is very important in the future of revenue management. So this is the 4th example that I wanted to mention, is how you do this contact very wisely. It's very important to be very precise when you contact customers because you don't want to contact too many of them. The customers, they don't want to be spammed with so many offers. And you also don't want to have some customers getting used to those offers. Because if the customer knows he will always get the same discount for the same product, he will not buy it in the first place at the most expensive price. So you have to be very wise here in the way that you do those upgrades. And this is how we believe we could do it. When you build your offer, for example, upgrade, you are going to send your offer only to a subset of customers for the train where it's relevant. And you're going to measure how it does. Do customers accept the offer? How much revenue does it generate? And you're going to compare this among customers, but also with the customers who didn't receive the offer. And you're going to learn from that. You're going to learn what are the offers that work well, on which train, and for which customers. And you're going to improve your offers through an iterative process with simple AI. And you're going to do so until you have a very efficient way to target the customers and only send email or SMS to the customers when you know that it is going to be very efficient. Now that we have described all the additional products that can be sold and how you can sell them, let's talk about total revenue management itself. Total revenue management is the ability, when you optimize your main cabin, to take all the possible additional revenue streams into account and optimize that total revenue. And actually, when you optimize the right to travel, the price at which you sell your main ticket price and the customers who buy this ticket, they have an influence on the additional product that you will be selling later on. For example, if you have a lot of last-minute bookings, you will be getting a lot of customers who are not price sensitive at all, so they might generate more onboard sales. If you have a lot of advance purchase, for example, they buy the tickets 2 months in advance with semi-flex tickets, you are more likely to have rebooking fees. So there's a link, there's an impact of the right to travel revenue on all other revenue streams, which is why you need to take them into account. Here, the challenge is being able to have the data about all the additional sales that you can make and link them to the customers who have booked the ticket in the first place. This is a challenge, but the good news is that you don't need to have information about all the revenue streams. You can just have it for 2 or 3 of them and start working this way with these revenue streams. You can even do that with the no-show rate. If you are lucky enough to have your customers doing a check-in when they have to board a train, you know no-show rate for each train, and you can optimize the right to travel revenue by knowing, depending on who is on board your train, by knowing what your no-show rate is expected to be. On top of that, if we are talking about total revenue management, we also want to optimize the total trip. Well, this is easy to say. It's more difficult to do. The challenge here is that you need to do it on a huge amount of O&Ds. Connecting O&Ds in train travel can be 10,000 or 100,000 of O&D. So the trick here is to have a hybrid approach where you mix connection pricing with single segment pricing. You will choose maybe 10 or 20% of the most important O&Ds, the one where represents 70 or 80% of your revenue, and you will do connection pricing only for them. This makes the volume manageable, and this also means that those O&Ds, because they are more important, they are more likely to have enough bookings to make predictions reliable. And then for the 20% of OS, or for the 80% of other O&Ds, you use simple segment pricing. This allows you to have the full potential, or almost the full potential, of connecting pricing by avoiding the complexity of it, or most of the complexity of it. And the last example, 7th example that I want to mention is that we want to introduce continuous pricing on top of all this for the right to travel, but also for all the additional products. But the thing is that we don't want to abandon the bucket system with the price points, because the bucket system allows the inventory system to calculate the price and the price to increase automatically when the availability is depleted. This is very useful. So we want to keep that system of buckets, but we want to have continuous prices. So the idea is to allow each bucket to have a price that can change slightly within a certain range. And with this system, you can have many different approaches. You can either keep a classic bucket structure like here and have continuous prices within a small range for each bucket. You can have like a mixed approach where you only have 3 or 4 buckets, and each bucket has the ability to vary inside a wider range. This allows you to reach any continuous price value in between. Or you can have just one bucket that can reach all possible price value. In all cases, you have continuous dynamic pricing, and you can keep the buckets that are the most useful to you. All these improvements, each of them, can only bring you a small percentage of additional revenue. But if you combine all of them, potential is huge. We believe we can double the leverage of revenue management by combining all these together. I can see here that my time is almost over. I will be very happy to discuss this further at booth 34, if you come see us at Wiremind. And maybe there's 40 seconds left for questions, so please feel free to ask if you have any.
Remi, thanks very much. I'm impressed by all the parallel thinking that you have in your revenue management for railways that we have for airlines as well. So that's quite impressive. The dynamic offers, all that, lots of parallel. I'm curious to know as well how close you work with airlines as well in this. Like, do you work on an intermodal journey? You mentioned O&Ds for rail here, but do you think about combining rail and air as well?
Yes, what we are working on here is exactly, almost exactly the same for airlines. We have introduced the concept of network optimization actually because we are also talking with airlines who have that need. So we have a bunch of profiles in the company who come from the airline industry, and they are going to help us introduce those techniques to airlines as well. So As you said, the stake for airlines is much higher to have connection pricing because most of them, or some of them, are offering connections and they represent a much higher share of revenue than for railways. But for railways still, if you have 5 or 10% of your revenue that are connecting, the impact of optimizing properly can still be 0.5 or 1%, so it's still quite interesting. And the same for ancillary. For ancillary revenues, we present a very high share of revenue for airlines, up to 30% or 40%. For train operators, it can be much lower than that. But even if you have a 1% or 2% increase of the revenue that you get from ancillary, can still be very interesting.
Good, thank you. Any other question from the audience? We are good on time, so you can ask one. I ask a second question, that's okay. What about your distribution? Are you assuming that all the sales are going direct on the railway website, or do you also manage distribution across other sellers, or travel agencies, etc.? Do you manage that as well?
That's a very good question, because when you need to contact customers, you need their contact details. So it's very important to have as many customers as possible who will book through a direct channel, or at least will book through a channel that gives you access to all the contact information. So we don't distribute anything, so we depend on the sales and inventory system, but we advise our customers, if they want to make a lot of progress on these aspects, to be able to have as many contact details as possible on their customers so that we can talk to them directly.
Okay, thank you very much, Remi, and we'll see you at the booth. Okay, thank you.